storyteller is the radiant Rosemarie Richardson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. You know, it's a real pleasure to see as many people in one place of so many different ethnicities and backgrounds. It's good to see. It wasn't always like that. When I grew up, a long time ago, in the South, I was a young black child. There was segregation. Black people were not allowed to sit next to white people. There were signs on the walls, and the sign said, coloreds only. You know what coloreds are? Coloreds are anybody other than white people. You could be Native American, you could have been Latino, you could have been Asian, you could have been anything but white, and you were considered a colored. And by being a colored, that meant that we had separate drinking fountains. We had separate bathrooms. We had separate doors. You could not enter the same door as a white person. We lived on separate parts of town. White people lived on that side of town. Colored people, we lived on that side of town. Guess which part of town I lived on? I lived on that side of town. Every day in my neighborhood was a dark day. I don't care if the sun was shining. In my neighborhood, it was a dark day. It was years before I knew that you could replace glass in a window. In a broken window, in my neighborhood, there was plywood in the window. When the glass broke, you put up a piece of plywood. It wasn't until I grew up and went to school, which was forced, we called it busing. When I went to school, I crossed a color line. Some people here know what that is, some people don't. Color lines, the white people live here, black people live here. There's a line that you don't cross. But my school was across the color line. So once I crossed the color line, I found out that glass was replaceable. There were windows that had glass in them. There were yards that had grass in them. My yard did not have grass. It was dirt. When I walked out the front door every day, I would look to my right, and there was a gang. All the guys were down on that corner. And they were plotting and planning and looking for stuff to do that, wasn't very nice. If I turned and I looked at the other corner, that's where the girls were. And the girls were so pretty. They wore lots of makeup, and they wore short skirts, and do you have any idea what they were doing? I knew that I did not want to go to that corner. And I knew that I better not go to that corner. So I kept my head down all the time. The whole time I was growing up, I kept my head down, which is another reason I never saw the sun shining until I left my part of town and went across town to the different part of town. And then I could see the sunshine. I could see the flowers in the yard. I could see the grass growing. I could see the glass in the windows. I went to school, which was my comfort spot. While I was in school, there were 3 teachers that paid attention to me because I was somewhat intelligent. I had read 3 complete sets of encyclopedia from cover to cover. I read every single issue of National Geographic, so I knew that there were beautiful places in the world. There were statues, there were waterfalls, there were mountains, there were animals, there were beautiful places in the world, but they were not my places. It was not where I lived. So I knew that there were beautiful things that I did not have access to, and I always wanted to know, how am I going to have access to those beautiful things? What's going to happen to me? So I paid attention to my teachers. Mrs. Clark, Mrs. Hedgespeth, and Lucy P. Jones. I never knew what the P stood for, but it was Lucy P. Jones. those teachers molded me and they guided me and they took me on journeys with them. One of them was a professor at Hampton University, and she would take me to school with her to teach the college students. And I'd sit in the back of the classroom with all of these varied ethnicities of people that were learning in college, and I learned alongside them, and I learned from her. So at the 8th, 9th grade level, I already knew college level algebra, geometry, trigonometry. I was a pretty smart cookie. Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Hedgespeth would take me with them to Virginia Union University. And the same thing, I would sit in the classrooms with the college students. I slept overnight in the dorms with the Zeta Phi Beta sorority. I knew that there was a better way out. I knew there was a way out. I just needed to find out, how was I going to make it? I had seen all the beauty in the world and I wanted access to it. I want out. How's it going to happen? So I would leave the beautiful side of the world every day, and then I would walk back over to my side of town, over to the dark side of town. There was no electricity. There was no plumbing. The house that I live in had an outdoor bathroom. Anybody know what an outhouse is? I had one. My grandmother would open the shades in the kitchen so that the kitchen light would shine out into the backyard so you could see where to go to the bathroom. It was unpleasant, but that was my childhood. Why did it have to be me? Why can't I live like everybody else? I hated my childhood. And now, today, I see some of those things happening again, and I'm not very happy about this at all. Through my school years, I grew up. As I was growing up, I had to find a way out. My mother said to me one day, "Your brother's coming home." And I thought, really? Now, my brother had left some years ago, and he was drafted into the Vietnam War. So he had gone overseas. And I didn't know where he was because there was no telephones. We didn't have a telephone. We didn't get letters or anything like that. I'm not even sure they were allowed to write. But she told me that Floyd was coming home. And I thought, I've got to see. He's coming in on a bus. So I got on the city bus, and I drove down to the bus station. Rode down to the bus station. And just as I'm walking across the street, out of the bus station steps my brother Floyd, and he is 6'3". He's this huge guy. He's in fantastic shape, and he is wearing the uniform of a United States Marine. Oh my God, is he beautiful. He's the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. And the sun is shining out behind him like a halo. I've never seen anything so beautiful in my life. And I decided right then, if the United States Marines can do this for my brother Floyd, they can do this for me. So that's what I decided I wanted to do. I'm going to join the Marines, and I'm going to get out. So I did. I had to wait 2 years because I wasn't old enough. I graduated high school when I was 16 years old. Couldn't join the military until you were 18. So I had to find things to do. And I had to find things to do that were not in my neighborhood, that they were not on my side of the street. I had to find things to do that were on the other side of town. So that's what I did. I went looking for jobs. And I found a job. And I was intelligent, and I dressed properly because I had been trained by some of the best people in the world. There is a way out. There is a way out. And I found my way. My way made me a United States Marine. And I'm so very proud today that I did that. And there's so many other things I'd like to tell you. But right now, it's just a pleasure to me to see so many different kinds of people that can sit in the same room next to each other in peace and in joy. Thank you.